Hey everyone, it's Shelly with the Lemonade Store, and today I wanted to go over one of the first cards I've ever made. It's just kind of been this new thing I've been playing with, and this one is for Valentine's Day. It says Aloe You Very Much, and I thought that was totally cute, and I have some cute stamps that I could use to make this card. So how I kind of started out here is I have this Fine Tech gold palette. That's the watercolors there that are the different shades of gold, and they're super shimmery and really fun, and I'll link to everything below. And I also am in love with these Ecoline paints. And usually one of the first things I do is I take a scrap piece of watercolor paper and kind of test out my palette to get the right shade that I'm going for. And it really worked out great with these because it made my Ecolines, which don't have any type of glitter or shimmer, and gave them some shimmer. So what I decided to do is to take these stamps that I got from Hobby Lobby, the Momenta stamps. They have different cacti and a couple of pots on them. And I decided that if I emboss the stamp, then I can watercolor inside of it. And it totally worked. I'm gonna probably be making a ton of these. So I'm getting my stamps ready, and I'm using a clear acrylic block, and I added some sticky Xyron stuff to the back of my watercolor paper so that I could just kind of peel it, and then it makes it a sticker on the back. Okay, this was like such a fun product. I should probably do a video just on this. I've been having so much fun with it. So I went ahead and ran my watercolor through this machine, and then I can put my card onto the base, and that allowed me to kind of have like this nice cool brown matte effect on it. So let's kind of go over the process here. Okay, so this Ranger ink pad is actually an embossing ink pad, and it's clear, and you can stick your stamp on it and position it where you want it, press down, and then you're going to put powder on top of it. And the embossing powder that I'm using today is the Princess Gold by Ranger as well, and it's kind of a nice deep gold, nothing too yellowy, which is kind of, I kind of prefer it not to be too yellowy. And if you've never embossed before, it can be kind of messy, especially if you have young children, and I learned that the hard way because mine thought it was like magic snow. But get like a piece of paper. I find this to be the easiest way. I get a piece of paper, I fold it in half, and then I can kind of reuse it if it didn't get where I wanted it to be, and then I can also use that to dump it back into the little jar. So that's my easiest way. I've seen coffee filters also, people use those, and I sometimes use those too, but I still think the folded paper in half is the easiest. So once you get it on your card, you're gonna go ahead and just kind of flick it and dab it and get as much off as you can, because when you heat it up, it's permanent. It's gonna stay wherever there's powder. So if there's powder where you don't want it, you wanna make sure you get it off, and you can also use like a dry paintbrush to kind of get the little powders off. So I did the little pot part, and that was one of the stamps in the set, and then they also have one that looks like this aloe vera. So I'm gonna do the same process with the aloe vera. And I just kind of put it where I want it. I haven't heated up the bottom part yet. You probably could if you wanted to, but I'm just kind of doing it all at the same time. So same thing, add your embossing powder, get off the excess, and then we're gonna go ahead and heat it up. And you need to use a special heat tool to heat it up. I just use my finger there to get rid of any extra. But the heat tool gets a little bit hotter than like a blow dryer, so you wanna make that you use the heat tool. And you wanna make sure you also clean your stamps off. I use a baby wipe usually to clean my stamps off, because honestly, baby wipes kind of work with everything. So I'm sure that's not necessarily protocol, but it works for me. And I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but I'm actually stamping this on watercolor paper because I wanted to use my watercolors on it, and it stamped perfectly fine on watercolor paper, and it embossed really great on watercolor paper. So you can see how it kind of changes colors when it's done the trick. You want to make sure it changes and it heats up before you apply your watercolors. And like I said, for the watercolors, I kind of already got my palette going, and I'm using a pink mixed with the Fine Tech palette, shimmery pink for the pot, and then I'm just going to use some green for the aloe vera. And I'm just painting it like I would paint anything, and it's really cool because the embossing kind of keeps it in the lines for you. If you don't add too much water, it'll hold it in there for you. So you don't need a ton of water. You just want to get your brush wet and then apply the color where you want it. And I'll just kind of speed through the coloring process right here and then catch back up once we get through the painting. And I wanted to add some dimension to the leaves of the aloe plant, so I just went back over once the first layer was dry. I went back over it to add some more pigment to make it darker. And that's just a kind of a fun trick to make sure that you give your plant some dimension. So usually when I'm going to letter on something, I try and give myself just some straight lines to go off of. You can use a laser, you can use a ruler. Using a pencil like I did here is probably not the best thing because it's sometimes hard to erase on watercolor paper, but lesson learned. I'll probably use a laser or something next time. I just kind of finished it up with some embellishments of that little bow that I made, and adding some gold shadow and some gold dots along the edge of the card. And that was pretty much it. It was super fun, and I'm sure I will be experimenting more and hope to share some of these tutorials with you guys. So if you want to see more card making, just leave me a comment below. Let me know kind of what you might want to see. I'd be happy to kind of do the tutorial for you guys, and we can kind of learn together. I think that's the funnest. So it's that time again for a subscriber shout out, and I really enjoy doing these. So if you would like to see your name lettered at the end of the video, leave a comment below with your name and I will add you to the jar. So today's lucky winner from the jar, so sophisticated, is Audrey. So I'm gonna fast forward and do a little painting for Audrey. Thanks Audrey for subscribing, and I hope you like your gold name that I'm gonna make here for you.